Today we are going to cover the OpenAI Whisper model. What the Whisper model does that it can convert an audio into the text format. So it is completely the inverse of the OpenAI TTS model, which we have covered already in this video. So in the TTS model, you give a text prompt and the TTS model convert that text into the speech form. And to the Whisper model, you are giving an audio file like a speech file, and it will convert that audio file into the text format. So in this video, we will go through different ways of interacting with the audio using the OpenAI Whisper model. And we will also go through a demo how we can use the Whisper model to do the transcriptions and also the translations. So let's get started. So the Whisper model or the audio API provides two speech to text endpoints. First is the translate. What does the translate do? That it convert an audio from the speech format into the text in the English language. Currently the OpenAI Whisper model supports translating into English language. Your source audio file could be in any language, but the target language support is limited to the English for now. And the Whisper model also provides another endpoint for the transcription. So in the case of transcription, you can transcribe your audio into the text format, and in this case the source audio file could be in any language, and using the transcribed endpoint you can convert that audio into the text format in that same language, in whichever language that audio file is in. Till now the Whisper model supports all these mentioned formats for the audio file. So if you are uploading your speech file to the Whisper model, you need to make sure that it is one of these supported formats, includes MP3, MP4, MFAC, etc. You also need to make sure that the size of your audio file should not exceed 25 MB. This was a quick introduction of the Whisper model and what it does, and now let's move to the demo part. So in my terminal, first I'll create a project called OpenAI Whisper, then I'll switch to that directory. Now I'll create a Python virtual environment to install all the required packages. The virtual environment is ready, and now I'll activate this virtual environment. Next I'll install all the required packages. So I'm installing these three packages, which includes OpenAI for interacting with the OpenAI API, and the python.env is installing for loading environment variables from the .env file. In the Jupyter notebook, we will write our actual script. So all the packages are installed, and now I'll create one other file called .env for holding my OpenAI API key. I'll paste my OpenAI API key here. I'll close this, and next I'll start my Jupyter notebook. So the Jupyter notebook is loaded. Next I'll create the actual notebook. I'll call this notebook OpenAI Whisper. So here I'll add a quick 2 lines just to disable all the warnings we will be getting inside our Jupyter notebook. And next I'll load my .env function. I'll run the actual function, and this will load all the environment variables from the .env file into my local environment. And here I'm importing 3 other libraries. One is import OS for interacting with the local file system. One is the IPython for playing the audio files, and the other is OpenAI, through which will we interact with the OpenAI Whisper model. Next I'll instantiate my OpenAI client. And now we can start writing our actual implementation of the OpenAI Whisper model. So the first thing we are going to do is the transcription part. So I'll call it transcriptions. Next, I'll show you my current directory files to see what files we have in our current directory by running this Linux command inside our Jupyter notebook. And here you can see we have one notebook which we have just created with the name OpenAI Whisper, and the other thing is speech.mp3, which is our audio file, and we are going to transcribe this audio file speech.mp3 into the form of text. So before converting this audio file into the text, first I'll play this file here so we can hear it, what we have in this speech.mp3, and then next we will run our script to convert this speech into the text format. I'll use the IPython utility, which we have imported here, ipython.display.audio, and I'm referring to this file speech.mp3. And now let's play it.
OpenAI is great for turning text into speech.
This is what we have in this speech.mp3. Next, I'll create a variable called audio file, and this audio file variable will be referring to the speech.mp3, which we have already in our local file system. And I'm opening this file in the read mode. So I'll execute this, and now we have speech.mp3 inside this audio file variable. And next we can use this audio file in our actual transcription command. So here I'm using the client variable, which we have initialized here, and which refers to the OpenAI API. And using the client, we are accessing the transcription through client.audio.transcription.create. So here I'm asking the OpenAI model that use the Whisper1 model, take this file where file equal to audio file. So I'm passing this speech.mp3 into the OpenAI Whisper model, and I'm asking for the transcription here. So now let's run it. The request has been executed successfully, so we should have our actual text inside this transcription variable. So let's extract text from this transcription variable. So I'll print the transcription variable here, and you can see we have this transcription variable where text equal to OpenAI is great for turning text into speech, which is what we have exactly in this speech.mp3 file if we replay it.
OpenAI is great for turning text into speech.
This is the very basic example of how we can convert our speech into the form of text using the Whisper1 model. You guys can also notice here that I'm not passing here the target language or something variable, because in the case of transcription, in whatever language your speech file is, it will be converted to exactly that same language in the form of text. Now, if you want to exactly extract this text instead of this whole object, you can try print transcribe.text. And now you should have the exact final text which we have in the audio file. So this was the example of converting a speech.mp3 which was in the English language. And now let's see one other language to see how the OpenAI Whisper model converts a non-English audio file into the form of text. So if I rerun my ls-l command here, you can see I have copied another file called german.mp3, and next I'll try this german.mp3 using the Whisper model transcription endpoint to see how this audio file is converting into the form of text. So I'll pick this audio file variable again here, and instead of speech.mp3, I'll call it german.mp3. Next, I'll copy exactly that same transcription. I'm referring to the Whisper model, and I'm also using that same audio file which we have replaced here with the german.mp3, and now let's run it. Next, I'll print the actual transcription which we have got from the OpenAI in this variable. So I'll print the transcription, and here you can see the generated text is in the German language. If I play this german.mp3 here, this should match with exactly this text.
OpenAI eignet sich hervorragend, Text in Sprache umzuwandeln.
So this was about converting a german.mp3 file into the form of text. Now let's move to the translation part. So I'll call it translations. Here we will use this same file which is german.mp3, and let's test this and see how the Whisper model converts this from German into English. So I'll call this German to English. So first I'll create the audio file variable, and this refers to the german.mp3. I'll execute this, and next I'll do the actual translation. So before we were using audio.transcription, and for the translation we are using audio.translations.create. I'm using again that same Whisper1 model. Actually the syntax is exactly same for both translations and transcription. So the only difference is that instead of audio.transcription, the translation part is using audio.translation. So this has run successfully. So if I extract the actual translation from the translation variable, it looks like this. So here we have the audio file in the German language, and here how OpenAI Whisper model has translated this from German into English. And again, you can see I'm not specifying any target language here. because the Whisper model support translation to English language only. So in the future, if the Whisper model supports translation from any language to any other language, then maybe we could have another parameter here, like maybe target language or language, and then you can do translation from any language into any other language. This was all about the Whisper model, translation and transcription. So for the transcription, your source speech can be in any language and it will be converted into that same language in the form of text. For the translation, your source speech file could be in any language, but the target language support is limited to English only. In the next video, we are going to see another OpenAI model called moderation. Using the moderation model, you can check potentially harmful text. So if you are giving a prompt to the GPT model, which could be harmful or which could be in the category of harassment, and maybe the GPT model will not answer you, and maybe you can violate the OpenAI community guidelines. So before you are giving a text into the OpenAI GPT models, so using the moderation model, you can check your prompt before you are giving it to the GPT model, and you can check whether this text is potentially harmful or not. And you can also find out the category under which this text is coming as a harmful text.